This is the challenge I call Challenge Postal Calculator Helper Methods, all right? And so the idea here is to create an application that will calculate the cost to ship a given parcel, whether it's just an envelope or whether it's a box, all right? So we'll figure out the volume of the given item to be shipped, and then based on that volume and the shipping method that you choose will generate a result in the result label. So let me show you how this works. I'm going to send in a package that's 5 wide and 10 inches tall, and then I'm going to choose a method, and when I have all that information selected, when I have a minimum amount of information selected, it'll begin to give me a price. So at this point I could add in that it's also 4 inches tall. It's like a small box, and now it costs even more, and I can change the amount by simply choosing the different method. All right. Now, if I were to remove one of the values that are necessary, like the width and the height, it won't produce a calculation. It didn't remove it from the result label, but it didn't produce some bogus value from scratch. So I guess that's a small bug, but we're going to go ahead and allow that because I forgot to fix that. Okay, so let me show you the requirements for this. I've got you a requirements document here with a couple of business rules and a couple of non-functional requirements. So a non-functional requirement is something about the system that you're building that's not a technical requirement or something that affects the functionality, but rather some other feature of the application that some stakeholder in the organization wants. So in this case, I'm the stakeholder, and I want you to name the project a certain name, and I want you to use methods. So those are the two non-functional requirements to solve this project. I used, I think, 3 or 4 methods, and if you use at least 3 or 4 methods, you'll be in the ballpark of where I'm at. If you find that it makes more sense to even use more methods, we'll go ahead and do that. That's fine by me. In fact, that's great. The way that you solve this is probably going to be different than the way that I solve it. So the solution video is there either way. If you want to compare what you did versus what I did, if you're already successful and you're getting the correct results, or if you get stuck, obviously check out the solution video and only watch enough of it to get unstuck. Okay, the business rules themselves. So here is where you accept the width, the height, and optionally the length. So you don't have to have a length. And then you need to accept the shipping method, whether ground, air, or next day. Second business rule, once you have a minimum amount of information, so you must have at least the width and the height and optionally the length, but once you have the minimum width and the height and at least one shipping method, either ground, air, or next day, then you can calculate the actual cost to ship that item, and it should be formatted like you see here on screen. And so the multiplier that you'll use, you're going to basically, depending on whether they choose ground, air, or next day, you're either going to charge 0.15 times the volume, or 0.25 times the volume, or 0.45 times the volume in order to come up with the actual cost to ship. All right? Hopefully that makes sense. Just a few things I want to point out here. Notice that there's no submit button here. Everything should be should submit back to the web server whenever a change has been made. Remember, we talked about this in a previous lesson, so that's what we're using here for this particular example. So remember that. And let me give you one little piece of advice, and I'm going to demonstrate this at the very beginning of the next lesson. What I typically do whenever I'm starting out is to start thinking in terms of an outline. So before I even write code, even the first line of code, I begin to write comments. And the comments will kind of read like a storybook. And it'll say, first I need to do this, and then I need to do that, and then I need to find out what this is, and then I need to check this, and then I need to multiply these things together, and then I need to show them on screen. So I just write all that out, right? And then I begin to fill in the blanks beneath each of the little comments that I've made. And that will help push forward. It helps clarify my thinking. It helps push forward the development. And so hopefully that little tip will help you as well. And typically those comments will factor into methods that I assign the responsibility. Here's a job. You go do it. You do it really well and give me back the result. Okay. So maybe with those little tips, you can help to unravel this problem and solve it the way that I did. And if you can't, or if you want to see how I did it, obviously solution video. So we'll see you in the next video. Thank you.